Hi, I'm Dave Smith, the Quality Business Partner for Babcock International Mission Systems. I'm a CQI Fellow and Chairman of the Membership Council. I've been working in quality for around 20 years in several different industries, including medical device, nuclear, ID security, fast-moving consumer goods, aerospace, and defense. In building a career across multiple industries and sectors, I found that context is important in leveraging value and understanding the impact of quality in an often complex environment. I'm going to take you through the 4 key components within the context competency area of the profession map. Okay, so we've got the profession map here. We're going to look at context today and the 4 components within context: customers and the marketplace, legal and regulatory requirements and voluntary standards, partners and suppliers, the structure and identity of the organization. Firstly, let's take a look at customers in the marketplace. So I use an example here from my own experience when I was working in fast-moving consumer goods. I worked for a food packaging producer. So we made single-use plastic packaging that then went to producers that would fill that packaging, and then they would sell into Tesco, Sainsbury's, and the retailers. In terms of looking at the profession map here in Tier 1, I can quite clearly identify my organization's customers, is those food producers, other stakeholders, and talking about retailers, and also how the organization creates value. We produce a product that means that the food producers can get food onto the shelves in the retailers that has a shelf life, that is protected, that is able to be consumed. At the second maturity tier here, we're looking more than just who the customer is and who the stakeholders are and what the company does, and much more wider around the sector and the marketplace, how we can influence direction and performance. So in that example, I told you before about what the company did and who they sold to, but actually it's about recognizing that the retailers probably have the buying power more so than the food producers. And if Tesco wants to drive a market in a particular direction, then generally they've got the power to do it. So it gets a lot more involved in terms of understanding that landscape a little bit kind of deeper as well. So now taking a look at the third tier of maturity within customers and stakeholders, we can look at the impact on the marketplace relating to quality. An example here would be in that same organization, there was a drive to move away from polypropylene packaging into PET because of the sustainability, the environmental, the recycling benefits. That obviously has a huge impact, not just on the quality of the product, how it looks, how it feels, but also the process that's used to make that packaging. So we're operating with different parameters, different equipment, different temperatures. There are all sorts of in-process quality impacts as well as final product quality impacts. So understanding the drive from the retailer to go into a new material has an impact on us as an organization and what that means to us. In Tier 4 of customers in the marketplace, we're talking about leading the organization, understanding all of the market drivers, but also the opportunity that we have in driving the organization forward with innovation. So we're leading, we're developing, we're advising on methods from our body of knowledge in terms of improving the performance of the product, in terms of the performance of process, and really driving the market in an area that's within our control. Let's now take a look at legal and regulatory requirements and voluntary standards. We'll scroll down to the second tier of maturity here. An example from my own experience, again, working in medical device, a number of regulations and frameworks and standards, as the same as a lot of other safety critical areas and sectors. You've got ISO 13485, you've got the FDA regulations, Part 21, and all sorts. So here we're talking around interpreting and applying those standards. So what do those standards mean? How do they impact the organization? What do they mean to us? As well as that, we're advising on those standards for those that probably aren't necessarily familiar with the detail of the standards. As quality professionals, we love nothing more than to get hold of a standard to understand the ins and outs of it and the impact that has on us as an organization. Not all departments, not all roles are are like that. And so actually what they need is a grounding and understanding and the relevance of the standard to them and their area of work. So what does it mean to the engineering team? What does it mean to the supply chain? What does it mean to the finance team? And being able to use our stakeholder engagement and some of our leadership behaviors in the context of the organization to be able to do that. As well as that, we're utilizing frameworks in order to manage risk, in order to identify opportunities, and effectively to leverage the value of that standard so that it's more than just a standard that we have certification to, and much more about integrating the value of that standard within the organization and the day-to-day processes. So let's take a look at partners and suppliers here. We're going to scroll down to tier 3. Using an example, in my current organization, Babcock are a defense prime. We have quite a complicated supply chain at times. We work with other primes. Sometimes we will support their activity and supply to them. Other times, then they will support into our activity and our project base. It's important to understand and manage, maintain, and understand the value of those relationships within that supply chain. So we can evaluate our performance of that supply chain through NCRs in terms of if we've had any raised on us, if we've raised any on our supplier, some obvious quantitative measures, which is great. More than that, I would say that we're looking at the qualitative areas of supply chain performance, the building relationships. So it's difficult to qualitatively understand a relationship, but it is important. We're trying to produce a significant piece of equipment. Then looking forward to tier 4, we've just employed a supply chain quality relationship manager who looks more than just understanding the quantitative data in those NCRs and focuses exactly on the relationship. How can we leverage that relationship in terms of that mutual learning in order to provide a complex system more than just a product, looking at those requirements away from product, looking at how we can deliver that service and that system, and also how we can improve and maintain and sustain that relationship. So looking at the structure and identity of the organization, we'll look at tier 1 here. I will take you back to my first role within quality. I worked for an SME. There was about 15 or 16 of us in the organization. We turned over about £1 million. And I moved up from the shop floor into the inspection department. And that gave me the opportunity to understand a little bit more around kind of quality, around the KPIs, the objectives of the organization, and effectively the kind of the risks and the non-conformances that we were exposed to. I think in that time, I learned quite a lot around looking at this third point here, the purpose and the significance of quality to the organization. There were some obvious tangible benefits of if we inspected product, then hopefully we controlled it enough that we didn't get customer complaints. But more than that, I started to develop an understanding and actually more of an appetite for quality value beyond just NCRs and beyond just quality control, around supporting processes and making things kind of faster, better, cheaper, easier, people happier, and really understanding where quality fitted within that organization, and then starting to align some of the goals and the objectives around that away from just a turnover metric or a complaint metric, and around understanding kind of actually what is it as an organization we want to be known for, what is it as an organization we're doing, what is our vision, what are our values here. So I think that this actually speaks to me quite clearly in terms of joining any new organization, whether you're at a junior level or even at a senior level. If it's a new organization, it's a new industry, it's a new role, really getting to grips with the mission, vision, values of the organization and how quality is interpreted and fits within that organization is actually really important.